There was a news article online from the BBC this week about learner drivers and manual cars. What's the future going to hold? So yes, learner drivers, massive increase in people wanting to learn and pass their test in automatic cars, and there's a number of driving schools now that just teach automatic driving skills, basically, because you can either have a full license which enables you to drive a manual or an automatic, or just an automatic license. Rob Cooling, who's based in Nottingham, has had 5 EVs that he's been teaching people to drive in over the last few years, and I'm seeing an increasing amount of driving schools just using electric vehicles. A, it's costing them peanuts to run, and B, young people are preferring to drive automatics. I wonder what we'd say 30 years from now, August 2050. Let's go through time. So welcome to the 30th of August 2050. Yes, I've travelled forwards in time, and I'm in one of these old-fashioned cars that run on something called petrol, and you have this key. It's quite nostalgic actually. So you put a key in the hole. You've got 3 levers down at your feet. One is called a clutch, one is called a brake, and one is called an accelerator. And in this particular Vauxhall, do you remember Vauxhall? Manufacturer from years ago. You put your foot down to the floor on the clutch, and you turn and hold this key, and this noise starts, and apparently that's this very flammable liquid igniting many times a second, moving some pistons up and down that provides power. The downside is there's a byproduct of this burning, an exhaust out the back, which is extremely dangerous. So whilst nobody's around and looking, I'm going to drive this fossil fueled car down the road, just to give you some idea of how we used to drive vehicles back in 2020. Basically you have this gear lever which changes the gear ratio to make this very dirty power plant at the front of the car work more effectively, so you can build up speed. It's a bit complicated, but I'll give it my best shot. I can just about remember. So with your foot down on the clutch, you push this lever to the number 1, you take off the handbrake, which back in the day was electronic, which was quite clever actually. Now you lift your foot up off the clutch and wait for the car to move, and then you hold it there, and when it's moving you can lift your foot all the way off the clutch. Let's go this way, because I don't think there's many people this way, so I won't get spotted. Now it's in number 1, or first gear as they used to call it, and it starts to get very noisy. You have to put your foot down on the clutch, pull the lever all the way back down to number 2 and lift your foot off the clutch, and then press the throttle again. So you've got sort of this action going on. We're now up to 30 miles an hour, but the engine is screaming again. Foot down on the clutch and move it to number 3, which is across and up. Okay, right, and this is how you gather speed, and then pull it across and down for number 4, and then once you get up to perhaps 50 miles per hour, it's good to engage 5th gear, which quietens things down a little bit, and then you keep going. Now should anything come out in front of you, or you've got to slow down for a bend, you've got to go down the gearbox. That's what they used to say. So from 5th to 4th to 3rd to 2nd, and if you come to a stop you've got to go into 1st gear and then repeat the process. I don't know how people did it. It just it's such a lot of hard work, and by all accounts people would pay £6 for a gallon of this petrol to make the car move. And in the case of this particular Vauxhall Meriva from 2012, a gallon of fuel would take it about 30 miles. So for every 30 miles, people will have to spend around £6 in money, £6 English sterling. I've just had to change into 4th gear whilst I'm talking. That's quite good for a man. I'm multitasking. Yeah, so these weren't cheap to run, and you also had to pay road tax for these, and that was based on the amount of pollutant coming out of the exhaust at the back. And in the case of this, it was £160 a year. So yeah, quite nostalgic, quite archaic, not very smooth. And when you are in, you want to accelerate, if you press your foot on the throttle, not an awful lot happens. Oh, it's now picking up speed. Yeah, you've not got that instant torque that we have with the cars we drive today, i.e. cars that run on electricity. So there you go. I can't wait to get back into my electric vehicle. So there we go, I'm back in 2020. Interesting to look into the future, isn't it? To see how ancient, archaic and mechanical and agricultural manual fossil fuel cars are, and how inefficient they are as well. We'll look back 30 years from now with fond memories of these old-fangled machines called internal combustion engines. We still will have them. There'll still be people liking the sound of a big V12 Ferrari engine or a big V8, but they will be a real specialist niche market. And similar to today, there is a certain amount of people as a hobby who like the horse and cart. That used to be the only means of travel 100 years ago. We still have horse and carts. Interestingly, you have to pass a test to drive a horse. And on that interesting end note, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, share and subscribe and all that malarkey, and I'll see you next time.